Hello, welcome to Let's Talk. I'm Salley Gibney. Our show today is about homelessness. You know, I knew about homelessness. I lived in New York. I lived down in Greenwich Village near the Bowery, so I knew what it was, but I never thought about it here in Vermont. Homeless? I don't know. Well, when we had our worldwide I Matter, You Matter Day, Joseph Wooten from the Steve Miller Band contacted me and said that he did a song, I Matter, You Matter, and he wanted me to use the song and his video for the event. Well, one thing led to the other, and Joseph and I became friends, and he came here and actually was on one of my Let's Talk shows. And he said he wanted to connect with us because he really believed in our message. He believed in I Matter, You Matter. And he thought we should do something a little more substantial, perhaps something for the homeless, because Joseph travels around the country and speaks a lot about homelessness. Well, you know, I hadn't really thought about that. He said, what about a blanket? How about people sponsoring a blanket for the homeless? I wasn't too sure about that. So I spoke with Chris Oldham, who is the director of the Bennington County Coalition for the Homeless. And we became friends and we talked about it. And that's what we're about today. So I am so happy to have with me today Chris. How are you? Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you very much for having me on the show. This is a very important discussion, and I appreciate you inviting me here.
Well, I'm thrilled to have you. And also we have Chris Heins, who is the gentleman who actually connected me with Joseph Wooten.
It's great to be here, Sally.
I'm so glad to have you here too. So let's talk about this homelessness. I think, Chris, start the conversation.
Sure. Well, homelessness is an issue all over the country, and Vermont is not an exception. In Bennington County alone, we're looking at about 365 homeless individuals, and most of them are actually children. They come,
wow.
Yeah, and you know, it's really important to just kind of note that there is no face to homelessness. You say you lived in New York City, and you kind of expect to see homeless people on the street in Vermont and in Bennington. They're there. You
don't see them.
You just can't see them. Yeah. Technically, or typically, they're from the area. They grew up here. They are couch surfing. We do have.
Now, what is couch surfing? What does that mean?
Yeah, so that means they're living with a friend or they're living with a family. There's nothing stable. They're just moving from one household to the next until they can find something more permanent. It's a real issue. It causes some instability in the family's home life and the children.
How difficult it has to be for the kids.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't imagine.
So that's just one type. We have folks that are living in motels that they're technically homeless. We do have encampments all over the county behind grocery stores and under bridges, and they have tents set up like a little tent village. Yeah, they do exist. They're also in the mountains. We estimate about 365 homeless individuals in Bennington County, whether they're living in motels or whether they're living in an encampment. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what happens to these people? How do they live? I mean, are any of them, are they working? Do they have jobs? What is their situation?
Well, there is no face to homelessness, and I think that a lot of people have that. Homelessness has a stigma attached to it. So they're not always, they don't have that bum look, that hobo look that everyone sort of associates homelessness with. But they're walking the streets. They are working. There is a population of homeless people that are employed. So fortunately,
how can they, I mean, what is the situation? If you say someone has a job, but they have a low salary, I mean, like $10 an hour, how can they survive on that?
Yeah, well, it's certainly no secret in Vermont that the cost of living is pretty high. So if you have a low paying job and your rent exceeds 50% of your income, you're in trouble if you can't make any more money, or if you can't make expenses. So You know,
some of these people who are homeless, they're not individuals who are not working, they're not, I mean...
Sometimes they can't find a job. There are other barriers that, you know, stop people from working, whether it's a criminal history, whether it's mental illness. Addiction is you know, prevalent in this area, and that causes some serious barriers. So the coalition is a very small organization, and we have been in operation for 15 years, well 16 years now, and we offer housing for a temporary housing on an emergency basis, on a short-term basis, and on a long-term basis. And with that, they also receive case management. So the goal is to help them and give them the resources and the tools that they need to find sustainable permanent housing. And that's a tough thing to do because each case is completely different.
And what about families? I mean, you're talking about children.
Yeah, so we operate the Good Shepherd shelter on North Street in Bennington, and that is an emergency shelter for singles. And then we have the Thatcher House, which is on the corner of Pleasant and Park in Bennington.
Pleasant and Park.
Yep, that is it's a large, beautiful mansion that, you know, I wish I could have seen it back in the day, but it's now separated into 8 units, and we have families that live in there on a short-term basis. And you know, they usually stay between 90 and 120 days, and we're working really hard to get them to a place where when they graduate our program, they're sustainable in a permanent household. And then we have the long-term program on McCall Street, and it's more of a transitional system where they're there for about 18 months. They do pay rent. At that point, they have some income, and the rent that they pay is income-based.
So you help them find employment?
We do, yep. Education, employment, whatever that case may need. They're all different. Every single person has a different case. Sometimes it's easier to get someone housed, and then other times it's difficult if they come into the program and there's just nothing there with them. So,
how do people come to you? I mean, how do they find out about you?
Well, they are referred to us by other agencies, by churches, by schools. Thatcher House is a family building, so a lot of them are in schools or they're attached to other programming. So they come to us referred by another organization. And you know, part of doing this type of show is really important to us also because we have to get out there and let people know, number one, that homelessness is an issue. And if you are homeless, or you know someone who is homeless or on the cusp of becoming homeless, that there are resources in the community that can help.
All right. Now, Chris, you were mentioning before when we were talking, you were on the select board, or?
I've served on the planning commission in the town of Arlington since the early 80s. And during that period, we've had a number of revisions of our town plan. And the town plan looks to set goals and define needs of a community. And now that we're having this discussion, I find it ironic that nowhere in the town plan is there mention of homelessness. There's mention of affordable housing and the need for affordable housing, but the issue of homelessness isn't seriously addressed. And I think it's something that, for the most part, does go unnoticed, even by most community organizations that aren't focused on that. And I find it sad that below a certain income level, you essentially drop off the map. Yeah. And the concern for your well-being is something that is then relegated to specific organizations that have a certain stigma about them because they're dealing with people who are on the fringe of society. But I find in reality, many of us are not far from homelessness. You might just be one hospital stay for an illness away from homelessness, or one layoff in a household where you've got 2 working parents. Right. That can be what forces you into homelessness, or the need for subsidized housing. Those are things that
no control.
are inescapable.
Absolutely. And
they're inescapable.
Totally out of control, and
Right.
not within
And
control.
it's not a matter of choice.
Yeah, you're right. And I'd actually like to point out that a lot of our clients do have college degrees. You know, they had great working experience. It's just one thing led to another, and out of their control.
Yeah. Totally out of their control.
Yeah.
You know, it's through no fault of their own. And I think that's something that this kind of an opportunity to talk about it is so important, because many of us have no clue that this is happening to so many people.
It'll never be addressed if we don't have these types of discussions.
Mm-hmm.
So this is why it's really important for us to get out into the community. And part of our mission at the Bennington Coalition for the Homeless is promoting awareness. Mm-hmm. So this partnership with your foundation and what we're doing in the North Shire is extremely important.
And I'm so glad you brought that up, because Chris, the Bennington County Coalition for the Homeless, and Your Never Alone Foundation, which Chris is a part of, have partnered. And we are doing this Let's Talk About Homelessness. Chris, talk a little bit about what we're going to be doing in the schools.
Well, we're really excited about this. You know, we can't continue to do business as usual. Mm-hmm. You know, we're a 15-year organization. Homelessness is still on the rise. We have to do something a little bit different, a little bit more creative. So the schools is a perfect opportunity for us to spread the word. Right. We are in the process of publishing a children's book about homelessness.
I'm so excited about that.
It's about a little boy and his mother who lose their housing because the mother lost her job, and they ended up at a homeless shelter. They used the homeless shelter for what it was, the purpose of the shelter was for. They had the housing, they had the case manager. She ended up getting a job, and they moved into their own place. So the storyline is based on true events, but geared towards a children's storyline. Mm-hmm. So we're going to, once that is published, it's in the art phase now. Once that's published, we're going to go through the schools, read the story, to the kids, and then come up with a service learning project at each, class that we meet with. Mm-hmm. And I'm so glad that you're part of that too.
Yes, we are too, right, Chris?
Yes, I'm finding out as the longer I'm connected with the You Are Never Alone Foundation, and just to explain, I didn't even know the foundation existed.
Tell a little bit about how we connected. In
January, February, March of this year, I had no idea that the foundation even existed. And when Salley had announced in the Vermont News Guide the Worldwide I Matter, You Matter Day, it sparked a memory of mine. I'm a part-time musician, and in my travels,
more than part-time.
Well, in my travels as a musician, I've gotten to meet some very famous people. One of which is Victor Wooten. Victor Wooten, a brother of Joseph Wooten, the Wooten brothers being a musical force in their own right. And I was aware of Joseph's song, I Matter, and the YouTube video of it, and was a Facebook friend of Joseph's after having discussions with him at Victor's camps. And having contacted Joseph and made him aware of the International I Matter, You Matter Day, I asked him if his song had anything to do with that. And apparently it sparked his interest to the level where he contacted Salley and found out more about the foundation and more about its purpose. And this eventually led to his idea of Blankets for the Homeless and an outreach program to the homeless. Right. For Bennington County that might be applied in other communities across the country.
And hopefully it will.
So my interest is in seeing that the message gets across, and I've been given the honor of setting up the musical event for September the 25th at the Dorset Theater. That's called I Matter, You Matter, A Night of Music.
Which is really cool.
It's going to be a performance of two local bands, Saints and Liars and the Bonneville Boys, of which I'm a member. And then Joseph Wooten is going to perform with a trio all in the interest of raising money for the blanket campaign, which we've undertaken.
And awareness of the homelessness. Now, I wanted to mention this. Joseph had said to me that he felt that he loved our message, he loved our coins, but he felt we should have something a little more substantial. He mentioned a blanket. And I thought, I'm not so sure. I don't know if a blanket is a good idea. So I got in touch with Chris. And Chris, tell me what you, share with everyone what you said about the blanket.
Well, I think the blanket is a great idea. You know, winters are harsh in Vermont. We see homelessness the most in the winter. So we have, you know, so many people coming to our doors looking for shelter, and if we can't take them in because of our limited space, unfortunately we have to turn them away. So the idea that these blankets will be coming to us so we can pass on, you know, these blankets to our clients is huge. And the message that goes along with it, I think, is just as powerful as the gift itself.
And I know when you said to me, when I said, do you think a blanket is important? And you said, most people who are homeless or in transition, wherever they go, the blankets that they use are used. And they might be clean, but they're used, and they can't take them with them. So for someone to have a blanket that they can take with them and call their own is huge. And to have the message, I matter, you matter, on the blanket. And you know, when we talked about it, and I thought, oh, this is a great idea, I thought, made in the USA, so I went online, and woolen blankets made in the USA were anywhere from $97 to $295, and I thought, that's not going to work. So I spoke with Henry Chandler from Chandler Four Corners, and I said, Henry, he's a friend and a neighbor, and I said, what do you think? Can you help us with this? And he said, yes, I can. Thank you for asking us to be a part of this. So because of that, we have ordered, with the You Are Never Alone Foundation, have ordered 500 of these wonderful woolen blankets. They're dark green. I think they're 52 by 60, huge blankets that we can share through your organization and wherever the need is for people who are homeless and in transition. And it's because of Joseph's idea that this is all coming about.
And this will be, you know, a great tool in the school system also when we go around and we discuss this with the children. And the interest in the younger people to homelessness is astounding. Yeah. I'd like to share real quick, if I have a couple of minutes. Good.
You have time.
Over the weekend, I got a phone call from a 10-year-old girl. Her name is Kaylee Sherman from Bennington. Her neighborhood was doing a community tag sale.
Oh, wow.
And it was a beautiful sunny Sunday afternoon. And you know, a lot of kids would be out doing something, you know, but her goal that day was to raise money for the coalition. So in the middle of this community tag sale, she set up a lemonade stand, and she raised $85 for the coalition to us. Wow. You know, whether it's $5 or 85 or 5,000. Every little bit helps.
Of course.
But the idea that a 10-year-old took that initiative to support the people in her neighborhood, and she knows that she recognizes that there's a problem, is amazing.
It's huge.
So I'm really looking forward to taking these blankets and
what we're doing is we're inviting the schools to the different classes to sponsor a blanket. And of course, individuals are invited to sponsor blankets as well, and they can go to our website, www.youareneveralonefoundation.org, to sponsor a blanket. But along with the blanket, each individual who receives the blanket is going to receive one of our caring coins with a card with the name of the person who sponsored the blanket. You know, when I went to Houston with the coins for the survivors of Katrina and showed them the card with the name of a person who cared about them, one gentleman looked at me and he just filled up, and the tears started coming down his face, and he said, someone cares about me, I must matter. And that really, really hit me. And for the person receiving the blanket to know there is a person who cares about them. But not only that, but the person who is sponsoring the blanket to know that someone is going to know that they cared. It's huge.
Yeah.
It's huge.
I think
that caring
it is definitely
connection.
time that the community knows that there is an issue, and we need to do our best to teach them and show them how they can get involved, and I think this is a good step.
And
well,
to
it's great that you mentioned the teaching, because I'm the kind of person who looks at the essence of things. And when I first got involved with the foundation, the caring coins and the message that they carry, for me, at first seemed somewhat superficial, and it took some analysis and some deep thought on my own part to realize that empathy and charity and caring about others is something that needs to be taught.
Yeah.
Especially today, where our focus tends to be more and more on a 3x5-inch screen. The idea of thinking about others and focusing on their needs is something that really does need to be taught.
You're right, and that's why I wanted to share the lemonade story, because this 10-year-old girl has so much to teach to adults.
Absolutely.
Even, you know what I
and
mean?
you know,
And she's gaining self-esteem at the same time.
Absolutely.
So the self-esteem of helping others is something that
win-win.
can't be
it's
exaggerated.
a win-win. And caring is in there. It's there. And I know when I go out and speak to kids, I mean, the kids get it. They really, really get it. But if we don't teach them, how do they know? You know, when people say to me, "Oh, kids," well, we're the ones who teach them. If we don't teach them, they don't know. And it's so important. So we only have a couple of minutes left. We want to talk about the event, the I Matter, You Matter, a night of music. Will you please share with us?
Yes, we're planning a great event. I'm still working out the details because we're still a month out.
Thank God I have you to do that.
I'm finding out how many details there can be in such a daunting project. But we've got willing participants of the Saints and Liars group headed by Mike Farkas, and the Bonneville boys responded right away that they wanted to be involved. We do a lot of charity work, and this is just an incredible opportunity. Joseph's charity in wanting to come here and volunteer his time for the event is absolutely spectacular.
Amazing. And I have to tell you,
we have a number of local sponsors that are
thank you,
Bank
Berkshire
of
Bank,
Berkshire Bank.
Berkshire Bank. We have Orvis. We have Mac Molding. We have Finn and Stone, and we have
Quadratech from Arlington, Mac Molding from Arlington.
Yep.
And my business contributed, and a number
your
of
business
others.
is, tell us who
Woodland
it is.
Services.
Yes.
And
And
A Safe Place is also a contributor.
And the Barn.
And the
restaurant and the Dorset Inn, and also the Barrows House. And we have the Inn in Westview Farm.
And there's still
and
room
also
for
the
new
kitchen.
sponsors
Well,
for
yes,
anyone
there
who's
is.
interested.
Yes, and the kitchen store is wonderful, and J.K. Adams. And tickets are on sale at the Berkshire Bank in Dorset, Williams Store, and also Northshire Bank. Northshire Bookstore, and also
Knapp's
in
Hobby
Bennington.
in
Now, I
Bennington.
also want to share that Joseph is an amazing man. He, was coming here, and he said he was coming in to do whatever we wanted him to do. And I asked him about appearing at schools, which is what he does around the country, and he said absolutely. So Joseph is coming in on Tuesday. On Wednesday, we are going up to Barry, to Spalding High School. He is going to U32. He is going to a homeless shelter there. Then on Thursday, he is going to Burton. He is going down to Bennington. He's going to be at Mount St. Anthony. He's going to be doing a radio show.
With WBTN, yep.
He's going to be going to the Veterans Home. He's also going to be at the Public House Thursday night for anyone who wants to come and make a donation or sponsor a blanket. Friday morning, he's going to be at Long Trail. Then he's going to Arlington High School. And then Friday night is the event. And he's leaving at 6 o'clock the next morning.
And what's the estimated number of students that he's going to be speaking to that week?
He will be speaking to between 2,500 and 3,000 students in Vermont.
That's pretty amazing.
Isn't that amazing? And you know what I said to him, Joseph, do you realize it's going to be a 2-hour ride up to Barry and back? And he said, that is why I'm coming. That's the kind of guy he is. You
Yes,
know?
2 more sponsors, the Barn in Paulet.
Right, absolutely.
And Amy Chamberlain at The
yes,
Perfect
who are
Wife.
going to, yes,
Is going
absolutely.
to be providing food, and
also Mother Myrick's is going to be
Mother Myrick's
providing.
also.
Yes.
Oh, great.
So
We've
we
got
have
a lot of people on board.
There's so many people on board, and we thank you
Always
all
room for
very,
more.
very much. And there's always room for more. And I want to thank you both for being here. You know, this is such an important issue, and it's something that we need to share. And the more we know, the more we can do.
Great. Well, thank you very much for having us. And may I just put one more plug out there? If you do know someone who is homeless, or if you want to contribute or be a part of the Bennington County Coalition for the Homeless, please get in touch with us. It's 802-440-2487, and like us on Facebook. And
we will put, Facebook, yes, social media, we got to get that out there. We will put that on our screen.
Yep.
Yes. Thank you, Chris, for being
thank
here. Just wonderful, Chris.
Thank you,
Sally.
Thank you so much. And thank you out there. I'm so glad you could join us. Just learn more about homelessness. It's huge, it's important, and until next time, let's talk. Bye-bye.